All right. Hello and welcome. Brett here with ClickMill.co. In this video, Pastor Karen and I are going to be exploring the ministry marketing funnel. And I say ministry marketing funnel, it's just a marketing funnel. It works the same for all service-oriented organizations or businesses. The way that you market a church service is the same way that you market a Christian school or a marketing firm. It all works essentially the same way. It's very similar with products. It's just shorter. So with that, can you see my screen, Pastor Karen? You can. Awesome. No, you cannot. Okay, sweet. We're going to go right here. All right. Okay. How about now? We're good now? Awesome. All right, I'm gonna move you over here so I can see you. Okay, so this is a marketing funnel. So I'm gonna start with just some basics. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit so we can fill up the screen here. There we go. All right. So with the marketing funnel, firstly, it's larger at the top and smaller at the bottom. And this is a subtle sort of point your finger back to our conversations on natural revelation, or even the scripture where, the four soils, where we plant in a bunch of places, in that case, 4 places, and we get good fruit and healthy plants and growth from one of the soils because one is primed for growth. And this is also true. When we have people, for example, come into ClickMill, we get somewhere around 45,000 hits a month, and then we get maybe 200 of those who are very interested and come into our course platform and become, subscribers and clients and these types of things. So the good soil there is relatively small. So the shrinking, the reason why it's a funnel shape and not a square or an upside down funnel is because you start with a whole bunch of connection points and it gets smaller and smaller as they commit to whatever it is that you're doing. So as the how do I say this? The level of commitment increases, the number of the committed people decrease. Okay. So let's put this into relational terms. So a marketing funnel is just how a relationship works on a broad scale. So we've really boiled down a relationship and we just do it with as many people as we can, as targeted as we can. So for example, and I'll just use my wife as an example here. I meet my wife for the very first time. We, shake hands. Hey, I'm Brett. It's so nice to meet you. That's connect. So the very first touch point with your ministry audience, and this is not everyone, and this is one of the things that we discuss in the back end of the subscription course, and we probably discuss this with our with the Ministry Growth Bible Study, is we're not supposed to reach everyone. That's not what God is calling your ministry to do. Jesus did not come to reach everyone. He came to reach the Jews first. Paul went to the Gentiles, and specifically the Gentiles in Rome and the Roman government, the Roman Empire. There was nobody in the New Testament who was reaching, the very northern parts of Russia. So the church as a whole goes to everyone when God is speaking to and giving the Great Commission, which is the rebuttal I often hear to this. And he says, how good are the feet that spread the good news, go into the whole world, and this whole thing. He's talking to the remaining disciples. That's the whole church. That would be like if we had every head pastor of every church in the entire world, and he was like, all of you guys go to the whole world. That's who he's talking to. So the Great Commission is a command to his bride, the church, not your church. And so that is my interpretation of that. Because if you actually think about this and you say, how do I allocate my resources? When we were talking about decision-making, Pastor Karen, and we're talking about strategy, how do you allocate your resources to reach every single person in the world? That's actually insane. That is divorced from reality. That is impossible. So then we have a specific audience. So when I meet my wife, I'm not talking to any woman. I'm talking to the one that is shaking my hand. When I go to buy a Valentine's Day gift for my wife. I'm not picking a random gift off of a blog that says best Valentine's Day gifts for women. That could be grandmothers, you know? That is not the same thing. What I am doing is I am saying, what is the most personalized and most impactful gift that I can get for my wife? And that is very unique and specific if I'm going to meet a need she has, as opposed to a need generally all women have. So that is something to be aware of. When you're connecting with someone specific. Any questions on Connect so far? Doing good? Okay. Now, the next question is, where do we connect? And again, and if you've got time, I would really recommend that you go through our Ministry Growth Bible Study. It's 5 days on how Jesus grew his following. And there's sort of a pattern in Scripture on marketing. We may have actually discussed it, but this builds directly on top of that. So when I connect and I meet my wife, the likelihood, my future wife at this case, in this point, she's not in my living room. That's not happening. You know, she's out there. She's out there somewhere. And what does Jesus do? He knows who his audience is. Well, I have an idea of the type of woman I would like to marry, and she's not in my living room. And the type of people you want in your church are not in your church. That's the problem. They're out there somewhere. So we know who they are, like Jesus knew who they were, and then he went out to them and went and found them. And so he goes to, for example, Peter, James, and John on the boat, and he meets a deeply felt need. Okay, so I, shake my future wife's hand. Hey, it's so nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. We're hanging out with friends or whatever it was we were doing. And what is the next move here in a relationship? We connect. Great to meet you. And then we convert. And in marketing terms, this is not Christian conversion. This is marketing conversion, which is similar. You go from being a passive participant. So on a website, I'm just looking at the website, to active participant. And so we sign up, name, email, phone number. On your ministry website, and you should be able to kind of see this moving back into the strategy conversations we've had, Pastor Karen, on how to get these people to engage and what steps are they need to engage in. Well, if you have someone on your church website, for example, what is the conversion? Well, either download your free prayer guide if you're like if your vision for your ministry is prayer warriors, if that's your big thing, prayer guide. If it's missions to Zambia, then download our info packet on Zambia missions and the checklist you need to go through to get prepared, or something like that. That makes sense. So that would be the free download, the easy conversion, and the harder one would be like, hey, plan your visit. And then either of those are name, email, and phone number. Someone at your church is following up with them, checking in, automated SMS messages, something like that. So now we are going from a connection point, and strategically, this might be like your sermons are showing up on YouTube, which is what we discussed. They see your sermon. In your sermon, you're like, hey, if you're watching this online and you want to know more about our ministry, you want to know more about missions, or you want to know more about maybe even visiting, click on the link in the description, come on over. And then what does your website do from there? It converts. Hey, sign up right now, get your missions packet, save your seat, something like that. So now we have some specific action steps that are in line with the vision of your ministry and make sense for them to actually do on your website. So again, Jesus goes out. He knows who his audience is. He goes out to them. He meets a deeply felt need. Well, you're meeting a deeply felt need when you go out. You're giving a sermon, and that is touching their heart, or you're putting a social media post, or you're actually going out on the streets and ministering in some way. However you're meeting a need, when that really hits hard because you met the right need, you say, hey, come on over here. I got something even better. And so Jesus does that. So he meets the need, gives fish to fishermen. That's the, what do we say, maybe material or terrestrial need, not necessarily a sinful need, but a worldly need, an earthly need. And then he switches from the need they know they have, the earthly need, and then switches over. This is just a spoiler for that whole course. Then he switches over to the spiritual. And he says, you like those, worldly, earthly fish. Well, I have spiritual fishing for you to do. I'm going to make you fishers of men. Whoa, don't know what that means. But if he says it's better and he just gave us 2 boatloads of fish, we'll go with him. And that happens over and over. And so what do we do? Oh, you like that article that we posted or that YouTube video about that subject? Come over here. We've got something even better than you. And in the same way, Jesus goes fish to fishermen, or the woman at the well, physical water to spiritual water that never runs dry. Or with the disciples, Master, we have food for you. I have spiritual food you know nothing about. So he goes from the physical to the spiritual. You want to follow that vein, food to food. Sight for the blind, spiritual sight. Like this theme just runs. I think it's always dazzling. It's like, wow, he did something really crazy there. He's taking the physical thing that they know they need, and he is just converting that directly into the spiritual. Physical sight to spiritual sight. You know you need physical sight. You don't know you need spiritual sight. He meets the need they know they have, and he shifts it to the spiritual need they don't know they have. So here, in regard to your content, you're meeting a need with the sermon, and this is why, and this really boggles pastors when I tell them this, all of your sermons need to be aligned with your vision. And so why? Because when people watch your sermons online, when they read your content and they're, wow, this is so great, you have to have a follow-up. Otherwise, there's no way they can connect with your church. So if you're talking about, missions to the Martians on the moon, you'd better have a funnel that lets people sign up about missions to the Martians on the moon, or, whatever it is. Otherwise, in the case of a mega ministry I used to work for, they'd spend tens of thousands of dollars on this huge family carnival event because they wanted more families in their church, which is not a bad idea. Problem is, they spent all the money on the carnival. They did not convert anybody. It was a connect carnival. And one of the great rules of thumb is always get a name, an email, and a phone number if you're giving tons of value away for free. So they just put on a carnival and tons of people came out of the woodwork. And I'll also mention this ministry had at least 2,000 people in it, this church, and they had like maybe 1,800 people over 65, 100 young adults, and 100 kids. And most of the kids were members of the staff, kids of the staff. So really unbalanced ministry. They did not have a good children's ministry. So what did they do? They spent all this money on a carnival, and people came to the carnival. They did not convert them. They did not say, hey, free to entry. All we need is name, email, phone number so we can follow up with you. And the hope was, well, those people will just come next week. Well, when they came next week, what's the problem? We still don't have any information, so we can't track them. We can't follow up with them. And their services stink. And they're like, oh, well, you made this big promise with the big carnival, and now we're here, and now there's nothing for the kids to do. I guess this place isn't for us. And so that is what happens if we have content that is unrelated to the vision, or that we're not prepared to fully incorporate into our church all the way through. Then they show back up after watching the sermon and they go, you guys aren't doing missions to Zambia. I was all excited. And now what do they feel? They feel disappointed and they leave and they're like, those churches. And that's basically our entire culture. Okay, so we connect. And while we're connecting, we meet this deeply felt need. We say, follow me because I've got something even better. And you have to actually have something better on the back end that they're going to connect with. And you know it because it's the same thing. Fishers of men, right? Food, spiritual food, whatever it is. And you actually meet that need on the back end. Now you have people who have converted. They have become active participants on your website or in your ministry, wherever that conversion lives. And they're passionate because you really delivered on the promise to convert. Jesus says, convert and have a relationship with me. And then he actually backs it up and gives the Holy Spirit and communicates with us and leads us and guides us and gives us peace and all this stuff. So, if everybody just came to Jesus and then nothing ever happened, lives didn't change in any meaningful way, it would be, well, I don't understand what the point is. Why would I be Christian and not anything else? Okay, so convert is name, email, phone number. And lastly, and also I'll make a point here on Connect booth. When we have a Connect booth, what are we asking for? How do I say this? In relation to the depth of relationship. This is a handshake. This is in relationship. This is handshake. I'm meeting my wife for the first time. Convert. How does this work? This is, hey, it was so great to meet you. Can I get your phone number so we can go to coffee sometime? I'd love to just get some more time to talk. And what is the goal here? The goal here, at least in this type of, relationship, is don't be a weirdo. Go to a public place and, don't show up in a panel van and have a normal conversation. And if you can do that, you're probably a winner. Yeah. And so that's the conversion. Well, what do we do at our Connect booth in our churches? What's your first name? What's your last name? What's your email? What's your phone number? I think I said that. What's your physical address? How many children do you have? It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, CMR, it was really great to meet you. I'd love to go to coffee sometime. Oh, okay. That'd be kind of nice. Can I get your phone number? Sure. How about your email? Okay. What was your last name? It's like right there. It's getting weird. And then it's like, do you have any children? What are you talking about? What is this? An interrogation? And that's what we do to people who come into our church. And we wonder why they're uncomfortable and they don't like sticking around. It's because we are moving through a relationship in a very weird sort of way. And I see this with Christian schools a lot. What do you do when you hit the website, apply? Well, if you look at the numbers, 99.5% of those people are new visitors. They've never been to that website before. And what is apply? Apply is the desired action. That's way down here. That is marry me. And we're just smacking them with that. Hey, it's so nice to meet you. I would love to marry you. That's when they run. And so we've got this all mixed up. So we're going to connect with them. That's the handshake. We're going to convert. That is the first date. Hey, let's just go out and let's chat a little more. Then there is the close. And the close is where we're building for the proposal and, the marry me. But this is sort of the largest phase. And it is where we do what is called lead nurturing in business, where we're nurturing the potential client and building a relationship with them. That can be through SMS messages, video messages, emails, any number of ways that we can do that. Even coffee with the pastor for smaller ministries. But we're building that relationship, and then we go for the desired action. And again, it's whatever that the ministry, and the desired action is whatever the ministry prioritizes in their churchgoer journey. And so again, how to decide upon that desired action is going to be covered in the strategy lesson. So if you're watching this and you haven't seen that, go check out our ministry strategy course, strategic planning, something like that. Go check out that course, and that will tell you how to come down on your action steps. And there's usually between 3 to 5, but we'll just say how do we say this? Let's say a church that focuses on missions. We want to get them on the mission field. Okay, well, you've never seen the church before. So, hey, oh yeah, you can check out our church website. All right. So maybe they see your blog or your video on YouTube. They come over and they say, oh, wow, they really are about missions. They're going to Zambia. They're going to Japan. Download our missions checklist. You've got to be a Christian. You've got to go to these classes. You've got to have this training. You've got whatever it is. You got to fundraise and have this much money. So they convert. Well, what are those conversions? Because the convert, that is a desired action, but that's the mini. That's the first date. Then what? Okay, well, you've got to come to the classes. So come to a class. That's a desired action. You have to be consistently coming to the church for 6 months to be put on a plane and shipped to, Timbuktu. Okay, so now we've got a couple desired actions that are strategic in nature that take your ministry participants, your congregation, to the promised land. So it's not about them doing something for your church. It's about your church doing something for them. Moses, how to say this? The Israelites are not taking Moses to the promised land. Moses is taking the Israelites to the promised land. And so where is the promised land your congregants are going? Well, Zambia, because they're missionaries. If you are in our church, you're a missionary. So what are the steps that get you to Zambia? download the checklist for Zambia missions, come to a class, come to Sunday church for at least 6 months, fundraise. Now you're a missionary in Zambia. And that is our desired action. So the close is building up and nurturing people for the larger actions. And then the desired action is the ultimate. And, the funnel can go down further. So we could say convert is download the checklist for the missions trip. Close is come to Sunday service. And then we could go down further and have another close where it's come to missions classes. Desired action. They're coming to mission classes consistently. And then the next desired action is when they come to missions classes consistently for 6 months and we have a relationship with them and we can trust these people. Then let's go into fundraising mode. And then the next desired action is get on a plane. And so that would be a logical step-by-step process for a missions church. And then, of course, we test those and we have a feedback loop. And if 100 people hit this step, which is come to church for the first time, and only one goes into the missions class, there's a problem in the system, and that should tell you there's something to fix. But this is the basic idea here. So we have handshake, first date, a whole bunch of dates, however many is required to build that relationship, and then the proposal. And that is the basic idea of a marketing funnel. And we want to make sure we go down the funnel in order that makes sense. What would be comfortable in a normal relationship is usually a good question to ask if we're trying to figure out why nobody is going from here to here. Well, maybe we're going too fast. Maybe we're going too slow. Now, one more thing that I often and try to make note with ministry leaders and pastors specifically, Pastor Karen, is, and I do this because social media, we have some kind of weird craze in the church with social media. Businesses that are highly functional do not have this. In the church, we think social media is the greatest thing. I don't understand. Like, we love media, we love imagery, we love beauty, which makes sense, because God has beauty. But we just think if we have all of the social media presence and we have enough likes or subscribers or something, that somehow something magical will happen and there'll be a revival or something. That's not true. What happens is when you go out, you bring them in. And so when we connect, and I'm going to switch over here to another one of these. We're going to open one more, and I'm going to give you the detailed version of the marketing funnel. When we connect, we go out. Social media is out. And there's a lot of ministry leaders who think, I can actually upload these images to that course so you can get those, Pastor Karen. A lot of ministry leaders think that they're social media, and a lot of churches only have a Facebook page. Problem is, Facebook doesn't know you and Facebook doesn't like you. And Facebook isn't going to give you any of the actual information you need for those people to be your real audience. What is a real audience? People you can connect with directly to email and phone number. Facebook has never given away an email and a phone number in the history of their existence. They ask for it, they get all of it because they know it's important, and they will never give it to you. That ought to tell us something. And that's true with YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. Nobody will ever give you that because they know what's important. So if we know the people on our social media is not our audience, it is the social media platform's audience, and they just allow us to have access so long as we're playing by their rules or doing whatever it is that we need to do, we get access. Well, what that means is we need to have our own platform, our own website, our own place that we collect those things. And, servers go out. If servers go out and Facebook goes down, or I guess if Facebook went down, the whole world would kind of collapse as well. But, whatever. If you're on one of these things and your data gets deleted or something happens, you have no audience because all of that information is gone. If you get kicked off because you say the wrong thing, which is happening more and more with ministries, you had no audience. So you really don't have an audience on these places. So you've got to get your own list. So if your website goes down, if your social media goes down, if you get banned, whatever happens, you can just pop that website right back up and drop all those emails right back into your email list thing, and it's moving. It's plug and play because it's yours. So We want to get them from social media, and social media is out. We go out to them and we siphon people who are in our audience into our own platform, which is a website or whatever it is you have. Does that make sense right there, Pastor Karen? Okay. And a lot of ministry leaders, I had a lady call me that I was working with. She has a ministry in Nigeria, and she's like, I did it. I got 2 million likes on a Facebook post. And it was like, wow, congratulations. What do I do now? Well, we've done this training. Well, how many of them went through to your website? What do you mean? Did you put a link to your website in that post? No. Well, put a link into the next post and try to get another 2 million, because nothing happens. They have no way to donate. They have no way to engage. They have no way to connect, because they're Facebook's audience, not her audience. And it was a huge, just kind of bummer moment, because it's, well, we missed the major part. So when we connect out there on Facebook, we pull them into the website. Now, the next thing that we don't want to do on the website, and this is the point that I'm getting to, is don't have social media icons on your website. Because why? Jesus goes to the fishermen. He meets a deeply felt need. We go to YouTube, we go to, wherever we go, and we say, let me meet a deeply felt need. And they go, wow, that's so great. Follow me over here. Follow me to my website. Follow me. And then they follow us over here. And then we say, now go back to the boats. And they're like, what is going on? And that's what we do. We spend all of this ministry resources going to social media, because that's the thing. We bring them over to our website because we have a half-baked marketing strategy. And then we have social media buttons all over the website, and we kick them back out onto the internet, and they never come to our church, and we don't know why. It's because the button that says save my seat, plan my visit is on your website, but you pumped the Facebook subscribe YouTube button instead. So the only time you want to promote your social media from your website is after they convert, giving you name, email, and phone number. So for example, I have never promoted YouTube or anything else in any other social media on my website. I've built the whole thing basically with no social media, only Google, YouTube, and Google blogs on Google. Now, that can vary because social media is a great avenue for connecting. For us, we just didn't need it. Now, in regard to YouTube, when people get to the back end of the subscription course, Pastor Karen, the proposal's already happened. They already said at least the conversion where they got the free plan. But if they're paying, we're already married. All right, hey, go check out the YouTube channel. Let's help each other out. Like, I can reach more people and help more people if we've got more subscribers. Obviously, you're sitting here listening to me talk already. Go and subscribe. And that makes sense because I'm not losing the people that I'm supposed to be bringing in. They're already in. That would be the appropriate time to then, make a call to action for them to go ahead and subscribe to these things. Okay. And then that, of course, would help attract some people to these things. So that would be the appropriate place for that. Any questions on this so far? Doing good? Is any of this new? Yeah.
Yeah, some of it's a bit newer, and I mean, you're right. And I've seen this, that we put them back on the boats. That made total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we ground it in the Bible story, sometimes it makes more sense. Otherwise, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Great. So when we're looking at the process, then we go out, we meet a deeply felt need, and we say, if you like that, we've got something even better over here, name, email, and phone number to access the better thing. And moving down, we're following up with those people because we have that contact information, and we text follow-up, email follow-up, phone follow-up, go to coffee, add them into your church database, whatever software you use. And then we're saying we got to get them into step one. So step one then is come to church usually, or engage in a meaningful way online. Watching a service isn't really a meaningful way online unless it includes the necessity to add name, email, and phone number, something like that. So how do we get name, email, and phone number? I want to come back over here because this is the first part. So one thing ministry leaders will tell me is, well, I don't really like it when I go to websites and I get pop-ups and, and people are asking me for my information. I don't really like that. And I actually leave the website. So that's why we don't ask for those things on the website, because we want to reach everyone. And there this is again. Okay, well, for starters, don't just ask for information for no reason. And that's what we do a lot of times. Firstly, we don't go out and connect. We just hope people show up on our website. So not very many people do. And when they do, we just say, subscribe to our newsletter, sign up for emails. Nobody wants that. I actively spam everything that comes into my email that I either don't know or am not interested in, because I don't have the bandwidth. And that's what everybody else does too. We all know that all these things are just spam. So how do we get someone to sign up and want to sign up? You have to meet a need. And so if their need is fish, sign up for our super ultra ebook guide video tutorial on fishing. And they're like, oh, well, that's pretty good. And on our site right now, the banner across the website is something to the effect of, take your calling to the next level, sign up for our free online, get your free online account, 5 courses and 2 ebooks and all this other stuff. Well, all right, I guess I could give my name and email for that. The value of the thing that you're offering them, they have to perceive is greater than the value of their name and email and possibly phone number. Okay. And that is called a lead magnet, because it is a magnet to what businesses would call a lead or a potential congregant or whatever you want to call it. And so we've got to figure out who the audience is and then give them the thing that's valuable to them. And Jesus does this: fish to fishermen, sight to blind, food for hungry people. It's very easy in that context. It's very difficult online because of the number of needs and the variety of people we can attract to our website. So lead magnet is how we get them to convert. Okay, so building on this idea of, well, I don't really like signing up for that, and that kind of pushes me away from websites. And this goes back to the funnel being sort of, you're going to lose people. And Jesus knows this too. When he calls to people, there is a commitment that is required to continue with him. In order for the 12 disciples to live and participate with Jesus every single day, they had to leave everything. So as the relationship increases, the trust must also increase. That is just how relationships work. If I want to get to know someone better, I have to spend more time with them. So my commitment increases as the relationship increases. Well, what we want in church, and this is and we've talked about this in the relationship sort of dynamics and some ministries that have some toxic cycles, Pastor, right? Well, what we want is, we want to commit everything to these people because we want to reach everyone for Jesus, which is a great intention. And also we require absolutely nothing of them. And so they don't think there's any value. I used to offer consulting services for free, a few years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and not a single person was even interested. And I'm saying the same stuff today, and I charge $150 an hour, and I don't have time for all of it, which is why we're building out the course site. And so as soon as you require a commitment, suddenly people actually value what you're doing, which is very weird and backwards. And that's also how it works. When I started working with my mentor, the very first meeting on the very first day, he asked me, all right, break it down, show me all the numbers, show me what's happening. I showed him everything. And he said, oh, you need to be charging $150 an hour tomorrow. And at that point, I was charging 40. I thought he was crazy. He goes, no. You'll lose all the clients who are wasting your time and don't value it. And you're going to get way more people willing to pay 150. I just couldn't even process it. Switched it to 150. And inside a month, I had more clients paying more. And all the clients paying 40 were the clients creating tons of problems because they didn't understand the value of my time. They disappeared, and it was very polite. And it's like, hey, we just, times are changing. We've got to increase rates. And so over a few months, the clients filtered out that couldn't pay those things. And then, but they just, more of them came. It was really wild. So on your website, when we're talking about asking for name, email, phone number, or at the front door, the rule of thumb is ask for exactly what you need to contact these people and nothing else, because you don't want to have them fill out, what's your mother's maiden name? What's your, your social security number, the address of where your children live. Like, no, that's not going to fly. They're going to think you're a weirdo. But you also need to have a sufficient amount of information to build that relationship. So yeah, I think where's the relationship? How much do we need? And give them something valuable for that information so they feel that, you're actually interested in their best interest. So that is the basic idea of how we do this. And well, what happens for the people that don't want to fill out that information? Because we're supposed to reach everyone, right? What happens if they don't fill that out? Well, you're right. A lot of people won't fill that out. We have 45,000 people a month. We'll run some numbers here and I'll show you how this works. We have 45,000 people on our website a month. And right now we get about 210 subscribers per month to our course platform. So if we say 40, let's see, we're going to go 205 divided by 45,000 equals 0.0045, and we're going to times that by 100 to convert that into percents. We have a 0.45% conversion rate on our website. And what that means is 0.5% of the people that show up subscribe. Now, this is a new system, and a good conversion rate, depending on the type of website, is anywhere between 1 and 3%. So I'm a little lower than I want to be. It is brand new, all this course stuff. We have had conversion rates as high as 4 or 5% with different things. But this is the one we're moving forward with because it provides the most value. So we're going to have to figure out how to tweak and word things and find the audience, which is a little bit different. But either way, okay, 0.45. Well, Brett, I don't like that we're only going to get 0.5% of the people that show up on our website. Aren't we supposed to reach everyone? No, you're not. You're supposed to reach the people who align with your vision. So you cast a wider net. And in the case of ClickMill, I want to help as many people as I can. Like Jesus preached to the masses, thousands of people. How many did he invite into the 72? Well, 72. So let's just call it, 4,000 men, 4,800. We'll just double it and say there was as many women as men, So let's go 72 followers divided by 8,000 times 100 to bring it into a percent. Jesus had a 1% conversion rate from the 4,000 to the 72. Super interesting. Now, that was only the first 4,000. He also preached and taught all over the whole, he's talking to people every day. So if you figure all of the people he ever talks to, his conversion rate's tiny. But that's good. Why? Because he's not looking for just anyone. He wants to bless everyone. But the more they commit, see, the more he gives to them, the more they're going to have to commit. 72 committed time. They went on missions. They actually did stuff. Well, what we want to do in the church is we want people who do nothing and we give them everything. That's not actually how it works. So when we have a lead magnet, you make it as impactful as you possibly can for the vision God called your church to. So missions, for example, download our missions brochure. We have a 1% conversion rate and nobody else connects with us. Good. That means those people are supposed to be at a different ministry because they're not called to missions. Missions people who are super passionate about missions will download that brochure if you did a good job, and everybody else is going to go to a church they're supposed to be at. And that's awesome because what will happen when you do this consistently is people will actually know what you do. All of these churches have no unity and people are not willing to do anything because one person thinks we're a homeless ministry and another person thinks we're a missions ministry. And we can't actually say anything to anyone because someone will leave the church. When you align it with your vision, you're going to grow slower at the start, but people will actually be passionate because they're going somewhere. We're going to Zambia. And, it does not matter what it takes or how many times we fail or how long it takes to raise the money. Pastor Karen has taken us to Zambia and we're missionaries and they're going to go tell all their friends, oh yeah, well, I'm going to Zambia. You're doing what? And everybody who's excited about Zambia is going to come to your church and you will actually grow more because you have clear communication and everybody else's church is just stagnant because they can't communicate because they can't, as soon as they take a position, everyone else will run away. And that's really what they should do. And that's pruning, right? Everybody needs to run away who's not in line with this. And we're going to take a big hit. And then we're going to grow in the direction God's called us to grow. Problem is, many ministries can't take that hit because they have budgets and they're spending more than they ought to be spending. And so we just end up in this stagnant cycle where we're trying to convince people to give more money and come, but we don't actually have a reason for them to come. So you can see a cycle there. So when we're talking about getting people to commit on the website, you don't have a lead magnet for everyone. You have a lead magnet that's in alignment with your vision, and you let everyone else leave. And Jesus did this with, for example, the rich young ruler. What do I need to do to follow you? Well, follow the 10 commandments. Okay, I did that. All right, well, we've connected. And now the rich young ruler, sees that Jesus has a need that can be met. And he says, oh, okay, well, the one thing you missed, what? Go give away all your stuff to the poor and then come follow me. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm not really into that. All right, well, you're welcome to join, but I'm walking that way. And that's the requirement. And, so Jesus is not trying to make it easy. He's saying this is what is required to run the race. And you need to meet the requirement or you cannot run. So there's a yes or a no, and that is a call to action. Right now, if you're loving this video, upgrade to the $100 a month plan. Actually, this is going to be on the $100 a month plan, but that would be a call to action. Go and sin no more. Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. Yes or no. And if the answer is no, that's okay. But in order to be a part of a group, you have to meet certain requirements, and that is true with every single group, without exception. So, do you have any questions on some of those elements of the marketing funnel?
No, it's all making sense. Like really just trying to figure out, what it is we can offer people.
Yeah.
I think that's the step that we've been missing. So
That's awesome. And I think with your particular congregation, Pastor, you know what to offer when you know who's there, and you know who's there when you know what their needs are. And so again, with that survey, I don't know if you guys ever implemented, I would definitely make the 3-question survey. What is the biggest problem you're facing in your life right now? What is the biggest need that you have in your life right now? That's the same question. If you can't get them on one, it gets them on the other. A need makes a problem, and the problem is made by a need. So you can figure it out both ways if they answer one of those. What is the most impactful experience you've ever had with a Christian ministry? And then that will tell you the way, and you can always add more, but 3 is usually easier to get people to answer. And that will tell you the way in which they want that need to be met. And if you do that for 100 people, you're going to see the 80-20 rule at play, which we discussed. 80% of your audience will be saying similar things. You might have 10 needs, but 80% of those needs are the top 2 needs. And you'll be like, whoa, that's super disproportionate. That's what we need to meet. And that
would you do that with, would you do it anonymously or ask for their names?
Oh, no, I do it anonymously because it doesn't matter who has the need. It is just a statistical, probability. Like, for example, even with like the 4,000, if you imagine there's 4,000 people sitting up on that hill, well, that's just men. So maybe 8,000. And what are the disciples saying? Well, man, these people must be hungry. We got to send these people home. They've been here all day. Well, yeah, but I mean, weren't there some people in that crowd who thought through their day and they're like, this could take a while. I think I'll bring a sack lunch. Sure. And that was the minority. But what was Jesus doing? He was saying, well, the majority here is hungry, so we're going to meet that need. Wasn't there some other people in that crowd who are like blind and they'd, hey, I'd love healing. Sure. And that's great. But that is the vanishingly small statistical minority. Maybe Jesus healed them. Maybe he didn't. We don't know. But what did he do? He looked at the broadest need for the audience and he targeted that, and that made the largest impact. So not to say you can't have one-offs here and there, but you want to find that the you've got blue collar workers. Well, what's their need? Well, I'm exhausted at the end of the day. I can't increase my income potential because blue collar work is, like we're working hard, and also I can only work so hard. Okay, so we have income potential issues, exhaustion, parenting, like there are some specific issues that come up in that sort of ministry. And so we want to target to meet those needs. If I go and start talking about, stock market investing, they're going to check out. That's not their life. So whatever, I'm just making things up to give you an idea. So yeah, you create the lead magnet to meet the need, and then you create the services to meet the need. And the vision is the fulfillment of all of the met needs all the way to the end. And again, I'm heavily referencing our strategy lessons, but that's what marketing is. Marketing, you can see why I had to learn strategy, because I'm telling ministry leaders you should do these things, and they go, well, we don't know what the need is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, now we got to talk about strategy. So up here, and I'll give you some marketing terminology so that you know if you're communicating with marketers at any point. Traffic generation, this is raw numbers of people to your website or in the front door. And so, when you walk into Target or you walk into some store and you hear the ding dong, that is a traffic counter. It's just number of people moving in. So traffic generation marketing is also called usually, well, that's what it's called, so that's the connect phase. You just go out, you hire someone to go out and post social media posts, to make YouTube videos and put them out there, to write blogs, put them out there. They go out, they offer to meet a deeply felt need, and they send people to your website. This is kind of beginner level marketing, because they just send them to your website. Hey, we sent you 1,000 people last month. That's great. Are they the right people? Maybe they're writing articles about how to make the best cookies, and they're sending them to your church website. That's worthless. Nothing's going to happen. So the quality of the traffic is important, but that is traffic generation marketing. So for example, over here at ClickMill, and Pastor Karen will get into keywords at some point, but when we do our keyword research, we don't target just anyone. We're targeting keywords that only pastors would search. And also we've branched out to Christian ministry leaders, Christian entrepreneurs. Why? Because these types of trainings are only going to be relevant to people running an organization. And so that's who we target. So we get the right sort of traffic. If we just targeted anyone and we had 45,000, visits a month, nobody would sign up. So that's really important. Then lead generation marketing, and this is what most established marketing firms do, is they generate the leads for a business. So for example, we have a number of Christian school clients. What do? We get people to book tours, make calls, and download brochures, and get names, emails, and phone numbers into that school. And we value those. We work with the school to say, well, what's the value of one of those leads coming in? How much is an average student going to bring in? How long do they stay? And then we value those leads and say, here is the projected income to your school. Again, not that money is always the point, but you can't run a Christian school without money, and you can't teach these kids if you don't have enough money to run your school. So that's how you have to measure it. And that is lead generation. That is what sort of full service marketing companies will do. And this is where a lot of ministries get into trouble, Pastor Karen, is the sales process. Firstly, so one of the Christian schools that we work with here at ClickMill, and we run their stuff, we set up their entire digital system. They literally had 0 leads coming in through their website. It was all just people stumbling into their office and being like, are you a Christian school? And so they called us and they were like, we need to get online. And they have no idea how any of it works. And they actually hired another consultant to come in and do a workshop with them. I also have done workshops with them. And they hired this consultant. I'm sitting into the meetings with the board of directors and the staff and the pastors, and I'm sitting in and I'm listening. And we go up to the board and he says, write down all the processes in your school. Okay, so we go up and, of course, someone writes marketing, someone writes the actual education and lesson planning, and someone writes the, whatever, all the different elements of the school. And he's like, okay, this is great. This is great. What's missing? And I knew what was missing immediately. And everybody's looking around and they're like, nope, I think that's everything. And I'm like, sales is missing. Nobody said anything about sales in any of these things. And everybody's looking around and they're so confused. Sales? We're a ministry. We don't do sales. The whole room of directors, people that run businesses, because as soon as we go into ministry, for some reason, you don't sell anything. This is a Christian school. It's $10,000 a semester. You have to have a sales rep. to close parents at $10,000 a semester. That's madness. We don't have a sales team, and they wonder why we're not getting students in. It's because there's no actual process to propose. We're going through this whole relationship building process, and there's no proposal, and they're expecting people to show up married. That doesn't make sense. So in ministries, when it comes to marketing, marketing is everything. And this is all the text follow-up, email follow-up, phone follow-up. This is all sort of the courting phase, what we would call maybe in Christian ministry, or the relationship building or lead nurturing process, the close. And this is what business is, or what do you want to say? The larger picture. This is what marketing firms do not do, is sell them. That's not the marketer's job. That is sales. And that is usually done internally. Well, when you have a ministry that does not know what sales is, especially if they're running something like a Christian school or a Christian counseling service through the church, if you don't know what the sales process is and you go to a marketing firm and you ask them to do all of this stuff, they're going to laugh at you and they're not going to want to work with you because they know you have no idea what you're talking about. And the question that the marketer is going to ask on the back end, and I have a lot of friends who have been marketers for ministries, and they will refuse to work with ministries because ministry leaders, how do I say this? In the majority of cases, don't have even the most basic comprehension of what this looks like, and they can't communicate with them. So they say, yeah, well, what we need you to do is to give us paying students. Well, hold on a second. If I know where your students are and I can go and connect with those parents, and then I can build the advertisements and build the landing pages and make lead magnets, and I can then get the phone calls and the tours, and I can give them, somehow the marketer is supposed to do the tours and take the phone calls, and then I can sell them and close them. Why wouldn't I just have the business? Why would I give you the money? I'm doing everything. And so marketers don't want to work with ministry leaders who don't understand the difference between the sales process and the marketing process, because, why wouldn't I just do it myself and keep all of the fruit myself? That doesn't make sense. So I'm working for you for a tiny fraction, and I'm doing everything. And the person I'm talking with, if I hand it over, will just break it because they don't actually know the process. And so this is the reason why, for example, and this is not criticism, I do this because I want ministry leaders to understand how this stuff works. But if I create this system for most Christian schools and I hand it off to them, inside of 6 months, it's broken and it doesn't work because I created a system that I know how it works, but it is a black box to them. And they go and they change things up. And what do? They create something as effective as they had when they started, because that is as effective as they are. That is why I'm so passionate about training. So, and this is in ministries, I know sales isn't the right word, but there is a sales process in ministry. When you get someone to commit and come to church weekly, you're building a relationship. But if you need them to tithe, they need to believe in your ministry. You need to follow. You need to deliver. You need to actually meet needs. And ministry leaders will say to me, well, it's really just, it's your duty to God to tithe. 10%. Great. That may well be the case. But if your children's ministry stinks and your sermons are light and fluffy every single week, I'm going to go give my tithe somewhere else where I actually feel like I get some growth. So there is a sales process, and we are continually convincing people that our ministry is the ministry they should be in. And we do that through this whole process. And they will especially when you have a vision and a mission that they're passionate about, because you've consistently said, this is who we are and this is what we do. You want to see disproportionate rates of tithe and giving and engagement. Be clear about what you do and say, you're a part of it and we can't do it without you. And we're all going to get down to business together. You want to see people throw money around, give them a reason to do it. And that's the sales process. And again, I say sales loosely. That's the sales process in a ministry. So Any questions about the marketing funnel here as we have discussed it?
No, I see lots of potential, and it's exciting to understand like the step by step. It makes it a lot easier than this kind of nebulous. We're just going to market to everyone and hope that they all come. So
Great. Yes, nebulous. I like, it's a great word. Yeah, you just, and that's one thing I think is very consistent with ministry leaders is, well, we'll just do a lot of things. And one of the things that I would encourage you to with, Pastor, is I have a lot of things in here. We don't do all this stuff with ClickMill. We look like the 80-20. What are the 20% of things that bring in all of the Google blogs? We used to try ads. We do get clients through ads. We get so many leads coming in through Google blogs for free. I don't even mess with ads because we are an ads agency. We run ads for tons of, I don't even mess with it. Why would I do that if I could just get it for free? And it's super effective. So YouTube seems to work because ministry leaders are very educational in nature. Google blogs seem to work because, again, it's more educational in nature, and ministry leaders are well educated and read and study. And so those work really well for us. So do I advertise? Nope. Don't even need to do that right now. Do we do physical outreach? No, I'm not handing out flyers. Do I do social media marketing? Nope. I do blogs and I do YouTube. And then we come through here to have, I don't have a save your seat. We do offer free consultations. We don't have an app. We don't have a ton of stuff. We have get the back end of the course or book a call. That's it. And so you want to find them, and this is usually the case with how much stuff should we do? Exactly as much as you need and absolutely nothing more. And that keeps you super lean and super efficient, and it keeps your resources in the right place. Okay?
yeah,
Awesome. Okay, well, this has been great. So this is the marketing funnel, and frankly, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to go into next week, but at this point, we can start breaking out individual elements of this marketing funnel and actually start running through some marketing processes. And I think we've kind of built to that point.
sounds great.
Awesome. Okay, well, you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, God bless.
Bye-bye.